Our week-long look at the new Indiana Jones movie this morning turns to co-star Sean Connery. Our man in Hollywood, Jim Brown, went over to southern Spain to catch up with Connery, who's made a smooth transition from James Bond to Indy's father.
Our situation has not improved.
Dad! Junior!
The choice of Sean Connery to play Indiana Jones' father in the latest adventure of the popular movie character is about as perfect a piece of casting as can be.
The quest for the Grail is not archaeology. It's a race against evil.
Germany has declared war on the Jones boys.
Like Connery's Oscar-winning portrayal of a seasoned street cop in The Untouchables, Indy's father is also a perfect blending of actor and role. Home for Sean Connery is here on the southern coast of Spain near Marbella and the so-called jet-set marina known as Puerto Banús. It is where some of the most luxurious yachts in the world are berthed. For Connery, his home is a jumping-off place to the cultures that surround the Mediterranean.
Well, from here, it's 40 minutes to Algeciras, and you get a boat there, and you're in Morocco's only 22 miles across.
Connery was director Steven Spielberg's first choice to play Indy's father, although Connery's initial look at the script was less than enthusiastic.
I was rather disappointed. Anyway, when I voiced my reservations about it, Steven was, I think, a bit surprised. Well, my reservations at the beginning were mainly to get a clearer picture of where we're going with this character and this father figure. I liked the idea of him being more like Sir Richard Burton, the explorer, that type, much more active and an academic to begin, and then then you realize what the genes were that produced this Indiana Jones. And so you get the mixture of the action man with the academic, but still very much a Victorian father.
The floor's on fire.
He's got scale, and that's what I think that captures an audience for this kind of story. And that's what the Bond films had too. The father of Indiana Jones in some way could be a Bondian character because of they're always in terrible situations. They always have to be resolved with some inventive, humorous action. That's the only solution they ever have, whether it's jumping into a plane and the guy says he can fly one, he doesn't know how to land it, you know. Yeah, it's very Bondian.
Harrison Ford and director Steven Spielberg have known each other for years in the so-called Hollywood film community, and Last Crusade is their third outing as star and director. But it is Sean Connery's first movie with either man. In fact, he only met the pair just before shooting began. Nevertheless, the chemistry between Ford and Connery is there, and Spielberg took advantage of it.
He's very exciting to work with, Steven. He's always got lots and lots of visual ideas, and I always have plenty of ideas too, and Harrison's the same. And to give an example, Steven was covering it with a close-up and the close-up, and then the timing of a scene invariably found it worked better in the two-shot, with the two heads, to get the byplay of the two characters, and in many sequences you'll see that.
When we get to Alexandretta, we will face 3 challenges. First, the breath of God. Only the penitent man will pass. Second, the word of God. Only in the footsteps of God will he proceed. Third, the path of God. Only in the leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth.
What does that mean?
I don't know. We'll find out.
We're turning around. They're taking us back to Germany.
I think the essence of the film for me is the pleasure. And you know, as well as I do, the greatest pleasure is when a film and the whole team is working, and then what you're all trying to do works.
Those people are trying to kill us.
I know, Dad!
It's a new experience for me.
Happens to me all the time.
Tomorrow, Steven Spielberg, who says this is his last Indy. For today, Jim Brown, NBC News, Hollywood.
This week we've been taking a look at the new movie, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Well, this morning we're going to be talking with director Steven Spielberg. Our man in Hollywood, Jim Brown, says that this movie bears the unmistakable stamp of its maker.
It is the kind of movie that has made Steven Spielberg a wealthy man and the cinema icon that most young directing hopefuls would like to be. It is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the third, and depending on who's doing the talking, final film in the adventure series.
100 millimeter on the ground. Okay.
This is Spielberg at work last summer in Spain with his stars. Harrison Ford returning as the archaeologist adventurer, and Sean Connery as Ford's father. A superb piece of casting for which Spielberg takes proper credit.
Well, you know, the thing that Sean and Harrison have in common as movie actors in real movies is that they're less concerned about their own characters as they are about the entire movie. And I really like that a lot, because they're looking ahead to see whether the movie's going to be any good. And Harrison's always been concerned about, you know, whether this works or that story point works, or is it too mysterious or discombobulated for the audience? Will they understand this? Or are there too many clues or too few clues? Harrison always gets involved in that kind of devil's advocate, conversation with me. And in the same way, Sean.
The Last Crusade is a return to the fast-paced, humorous adventure that was the first movie in the series, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The second film, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, was much darker. And Spielberg feels that was the influence of his producer, George Lucas.
I think George had a master plan that he didn't even tell me about. And he might have been trying to parallel a little bit the Star Wars saga with The Empire Strikes Back and Temple of Doom having a kind of darkness to both of them. But I was a little more in control of the third movie in terms of what it was going to be about. It was my idea to do a father-son relationship picture using the backdrop of Raiders to give it its, overdrive. And but George really wanted to go out on a sort of a celebration as opposed to anything too cerebral.
There is a non-cerebral common thread that weaves itself through all three indie movies, what Spielberg calls the wee beasties, usually affecting the female lead. In Raiders, it was snakes, proving a problem for leading lady Karen Allen. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, bugs, which had to be faced by Kate Capshaw. And in The Last Crusade, Alison Doody may get to kiss the leading man, but then she has to face rodent's delight.
Oh, rats.
Well, for one thing, they were bred in captivity. So they were bred to be movie stars. Every one of them, all 6,000 of them. It was like the biggest contract stable since the old days of MGM. And they were, they were bred that way for a reason. We wanted them to be clean. We didn't want them to carry any kind of, disease, any sort of germs. That didn't quell the fears of the crew, because once again, like in the previous two films, there's at least half the crew that doesn't mind rats, and the other half can't stand them. So once again, half the crew works on the rat sequences, and the other half of the crew goes outside the soundstage and talks until the scenes are done. Same thing with the rat. Same thing with the snakes. In the first one, we lost half the crew on the first movie, and we lost 3/4 of the crew with the bugs.
In The Last Crusade, you get a chance to learn where things come from as far as India is concerned, and the movie has a finality about it.
Well, it's a finality for me. I certainly don't control the destiny of the Indiana Jones movies. George could make as many as he'd like, but it was certainly my graduation gift to be able to work on something like this and then, in the best way possible, say goodbye to all my old friends and move on.
The riding off into the sunset is very literal at the end of this film, isn't it?
I built every clue into this movie I possibly could think of to let George know that we should retire this guy's number. I did all I could. But I think we'd like to quit at this point. Well, we all feel that we've pretty much, we have a nice sort of first, second, and third act. And why create a fourth act? Well, we don't really need one.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade opens May 24th. For today, Jim Brown, NBC News, Hollywood.
Where's mine?
Tomorrow we'll meet Indy's new female lead in The Last Crusade, the lady with the rats, Alison Doody. Brian will be back in just a moment with something called an Odyssey of the Mind after these messages.
On this morning, we're continuing our series on the newest Indiana Jones adventure. It's called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a Lucas Spielberg offering that's filled with action, adventure, and, oh yeah, a little bit of romance. That love interest provided by Irish-born actress Alison Doody, who is making her starring debut in The Last Crusade. And good morning.
Hello.
Since yours is not a name familiar to anyone who's watching, it begs the first question. How'd you get this?
How did I get the part? I was introduced to Stephen, who asked me to audition. I did 3 scenes for him with George Lucas. And I waited for about 3 weeks, which felt like 3 months. And I found out I got the part.
Why you?
Why me?
Yeah.
I think because I did a good test. I think he was impressed with my test. And I showed him a tape of previous work that I had done. And I think I was lucky.
Did you have kind of a feeling, I mean, after the test, did you walk out going, yeah, I nailed that?
No, no. I never do that. Sometimes I think I've done a good test and then I don't get the part.
Yeah.
Other times I think I've done a very bad test and I do get the part. I think it varies.
In terms of degree of difficulty, I mean, can I say with some assurance this was the hardest thing you'd ever done since it was your first starring role in a major film?
I don't think it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. I think it was different because most of the stuff that I have done has been varied. It hasn't just been adventure. I did another film, Prayer for the Dying, which was also difficult. Each actual part that I've done has had its difficulties. Mm-hmm. It's just different. It is adventure. It's running around, doing some stunt work and things like that. So that's the difficulty.
The odd twist to this one is you are Irish-born and you had to have an Austrian accent.
That's right.
Hard?
Yeah, it was. The Austrian accent was, it was great for me to be given the opportunity to put on another accent. I worked with Robert Easton, who's a great dialogue coach, and we worked together on that. Originally it was quite strong, but then we realized that was a little comic, so it's very slight. But it's funny, they were looking for an Austrian 28-year-old, and they ended up with an Irish 23-year-old.
That's all right. I'm sure they're happy. Let's talk about Dr. Elsa Schneider, who is your part. Give me a quick character sketch.
Quick character sketch is she's a very independent lady. She's an art historian. She's, as I see her, she's a match for Indiana Jones. She goes out and gets what she wants.
Mm-hmm. She's very much like
cool.
him. Yeah. Let's take a look at her and him in one of the caverns below the streets of Venice.
We found it. Look. Engraving on the shield. It's the same as on the Grail tablet. The shield is the second marker.
What's that?
It's a rubbing. Dad read of the Grail tablet.
Just like your father. Kitty is a schoolboy. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you were here now to see this?
Never would have made it past the rats. He hates rats. He's scared to death of them.
I don't give anything away if I say what happened after that, right?
Do you? I don't know.
No. I mean...
No, you don't really.
Did you really do the scene with the rats climbing all over your head?
Yes, I did. Which didn't bother me in the slightest.
Why not?
Well, they were more frightened of me than I was of them. I'm a lot bigger. They didn't bother me in the slightest.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me the first time Stephen sat across from you and said, okay, now here's what we're going to do now. All these rats are going to climb up over your head. You kind of went, that's okay.
No. I mean, I did say that at the audition, sure. But I was a bit apprehensive. But when I came in contact with them, I realized that they wouldn't harm you unless you treated them badly, and nobody did that. So it was okay. And the rats from the Ritz, they're very clean rats.
The first 2 Indiana Jones episodes did nothing career-wise for the 2 women who were co-stars in them.
Don't say that.
Well, I mean, I asked that only because I'm wondering if that doesn't concern you a little bit.
It doesn't really, because I'm a working actress. I just want to get on. I'm doing a lot of publicity for the film. It doesn't, I don't really think about that, no. I mean, it's just, I've been given a great opportunity, because it puts me on the map, as it were, or it puts me in the public eye for a little while, and it helps me a little that way. But the next job, I'm just waiting for the next job. It doesn't worry me. No.
And you will be seen, and my guess is not a lot of people will be able to forget.
Oh, thank you.
Alison Doody, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to come back in just a moment. There's more ahead right after this.